It's Monday. Let's go check this out. See what the freight's doing. Stay tuned. We'll get into it. Yes. Good morning. Good morning, all. It is Monday. It's the 79th day of the year, 78th or 79th. What is it? Let me take a look here. Math is hard. Anyways, 78th day of the year. Hope all is well. We are approaching the last final mile of the first quarter. Almost said third quarter. That's not right. And we'll see what freight's doing. Let me get rid of that windshield there. And see Ponzi in here, man. How's it going, Ponzi? Hope you're doing all right. But yeah, we're just kind of doing our thing. Today is probably going to be a busy day, so hopefully won't be live too long. I know that we had a good session Friday. We had DIY Semi on here. We were talking about Go Highway and digital brokers and such. And he's got an interesting YouTube video coming up today, how to cold call shippers, I believe. So DIY, if you want, put the link up to that video. That's going to happen if you want. I see in here. So anyways, good morning. It's really chilly today. It's like it's down in the 20s again. So old man winter is putting up one more fight. Luckily, weather is not too active. Let me show the screen here. Other than the cold, so if you're planning things, that might be a problem here in the southeast. But yeah, you got a freeze and frost warning down here in the southeast, and then you have. This is like a weather statement for cold. I'm not sure what they're trying to get at here, but and then there's a avalanche warning up here in the northwestern tip of Montana, and also the little tippy tip of Idaho. And then you got a little bit of a winter weather going on around Buffalo. So yeah, so it's winter's trying to hold on. This is just a fire statement, and the rest of this is just all cold in the southeast. A little bit of fog there in southern Florida. So you don't see the cold down there. Oh, look at Don's on it, right? So other than that, I had had a pretty uneventful weekend. I went and saw some friends of mine play. There was their 10-year anniversary of a local band here, and it was pretty cool. The it's very rare to see a local band last for, as long as they have. They started off as an Iron Maiden tribute band, and they kind of just moved into doing their own originals and all that. It was pretty cool. A band called Transylvania. I bought one of their hats too. It was a good time. And then what else happened this weekend? Oh, finally got a workout in. I didn't get to work out hardly at all last week. Part of it was because of work, and the other part was because the normal gym I went to, or I go to, was closed for 3 days because they're redoing all the machines. So on Saturday I went to, I know this is riveting. On Saturday I went to the other side of town, the same gym. It's Planet Fitness, so I've got the black card member, so I can get in anywhere I want. And they had the newer machines already there, and it was interesting because they have their own counters. They have like a timer on them. I thought that was pretty cool. Felt good to work out like that. And then I went into a pawn shop that had some shoot 'em up things and some guitars and stuff, and it was pretty cool. The owner was very cool. I talked to him for a little bit, and I liked his pricing technique. He had a guitar in there. It was like a Leonard Skinner 40th or 30th anniversary. It was an Epiphone Les Paul, and he didn't have an extraordinary price on it because he would rather have you come in and be impressed by the price versus trying to negotiate a lower price because people thought it was too high. And I thought that's a really good technique. And he seemed like a pretty good. His pews were reasonably priced. Might go in there again sometime. But I like talking to smart, good, honest business owners. Regardless of what what they're selling or whatever. So with his 1%er black card, I am not a 1%er. If the black card was a 1%er, Planet Fitness would be dead. So, but I pay $20 a month instead of $11 a month or whatever. So, but anyways, not much else going on. I've been dabbling in the flatbed world a little bit, so I'm learning. I was, when the dispatch service first started, we did I did one outside carrier with flatbed, and it was all right. It was fairly easy because there were so many limitations, so it really narrowed the window. There wasn't like, sometimes having too many options can be overwhelming, and that's, I think that you see that with some people when they come to the spot market, regardless of what platform they're on, when they're coming from a place like Schneider or Landstar or, or even a carrier like Prime, where you only had a limited amount of choices. Your dispatcher calls you and says, hey, I've got these 5 loads, which one do you want? Versus now you do a 100-mile radius of Columbus. Now you've got 600 choices. What do you do? Where do you go? What do you, and so it's overwhelming to a lot of drivers. And I try to coach them through that, how to filter out all those options so you're not overanalyzing everything. And, you got to be quick on the fly. You got to have Google Maps in front of you. Not, okay, let me rephrase that. You don't have to. But it's very helpful to have Google Maps in front of you, a calculator in front of you. That way you can do calculations and mapping right on the fly. And why the Google Maps, right? Well, because let's say that you're in Virginia and there's a load picking up in West Virginia. And the broker is going to be like, okay, how far away are you? What's your ETA? That kind of thing. And the load board might tell you it's only 120 miles away. So you're thinking, okay, 6 miles an hour. Okay, that's 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours, right? But then you're going through every nook, cranny, side road, to get there, and it might take you 3 hours to do that 120 miles. So it's very important to have, and then after that, you got to deal with, maybe, like, for example, Maida, Missouri, there's a big dog food plant down there. Anybody who's ever been there, it is literally it's like, if you look at the area as a big bowl, because you're in the, Ozark Mountains. There's no signal down there, or at least there used not, maybe it's better now, but the roads you get on to get there, like, some aren't even lined, right? So, like, they don't even have the center line going on. And so to pull a heavy load out of there is a lot slower and tedious than, say, picking up somewhere in, off the interstate in Nebraska or something like that. So, you got to know those kind of things. Know what you're getting into. But again, if you I don't like that route. And the next thing you know, the load's gone because someone else took it, because they're not doing that. So sometimes you get punished for doing your homework, and, because loads will fly off the shelf just like that. And it's going to be like that for a while. So just know that, you kind of, the more experience you have, the easier it is. The more you can spot things that are not right, or, you know what I mean? It's interesting, right? It's like, I know Missouri pretty well, and so I know where to go, where not to go, what customers are good, what customers are not good. If there's a new customer, I'm looking at the location. If, I know that this customer will let you spend the night, I know this customer will load you regardless of what your appointment time is. That kind of thing. And those things are really, really handy when it comes to having leverage to get the load before the other person does. Like the loads going into the loads I used to do going into Tyson. I know exactly that it's a big wide open window of delivery. I know that some of the more inexperienced and non-English speaking carriers have trouble with the check-in system there at Tyson and Sedalia. And so that gives me a little bit of leverage. And now, for the most part, they're just about saving money. They don't care about, how well you do it, or how often you do that particular load. But it does help with some brokers. Some brokers actually do care about the customer service, whereas a lot of these one-and-done brokers don't care about the one-and-done carriers, and they just want the load moved. They want it off their computer. They want it off their desk, and they don't care that the system or not. Those you don't have a whole lot of leverage. The other thing that I'm seeing is it's becoming more and more difficult. I'm seeing a lot of brokers that carriers have established relationships with that suddenly cannot be used. And so, and we've dealt with that. We talked about that Friday, where we're literally, one of our trucks is on a load from a particular broker, but then the other agent doesn't want to use us for this next load, or refuses to do the paperwork associated with setting up a new carrier. That there's even TQL's cracking down on that, which is saying a lot, because TQL, CH Robinson, those two were a lot of the, like, if you're a new carrier, you're doing a lot of TQL, CH Robinson. At one time you were, and now TQL is even getting picky about who they're moving freight with, and it's getting interesting. There's a lot of cards stacked against you. So if you can find a good broker that's you got a good relationship with, and you're doing some work that goes beyond what the computer screen can serve, then that will do you some good as well. So we're also streaming on Twitter. So if you don't mind, follow me on Twitter as well. It's just at Snorelord, not the big long name that you guys are used to seeing. So anyways, let's get to the comments, and we will get to some low board stuff. Don, what's up, man? WCF Invader, good day. Pale Rider TV, I saw that you were live. I was at my friend's show, so I missed your live feed. Mrs. A was in there, though, representing. Speaking of Mrs. A, Shannon Thomas put up a video when she hung out with us. It's a short video of the big bowl, lava bowl thing that she bought at the Mexican restaurant. So it's a little fun 1 minute long video. So, and I noticed that Shannon was live, just kind of like doing paperwork and stuff. I thought that was interesting. So, but she had over 1,000 views on that. So kudos to her for pulling that off. Flatbed Trucker, good morning. Ponzi, where he said hey to you, but we'll say hey to you again. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Jaywalk, good morning. Good morning, all. DIY Semi is first. Join DIY Semi, E-Carrier, myself for a Smashing Live here in 3 hours. Yes, Don will be a part of that as well. So make sure you check that out. And there's the link if you guys are interested. Wimpy is in here last. Glenn, what's up? Hey. I like it when Dispatcher uses MapQuest. You know, I remember days of the printed MapQuest papers. I remember those days. And I remember, now when I first started trucking, which was, early 2000s. Well, no, I'd say like 2008, 2009, I think. It was 2009. I don't remember. Trucking GPS were there, but they were uber expensive. They were super, super duper high dollar, like $1,000. And of course, I couldn't afford that. Hell, I had to put my CDL school on a credit card, right? So so what I figured out was, using MapQuest, which we did for the band, and it got us lost quite a few times. And I remember getting pre-booked from my company here in Springfield, a load going to Houston from here. And I thought, man, I'll just MapQuest. So I printed out my MapQuest, and I still got lost. And man, when GPSs became affordable, and then actually the first time I used a GPS, we were using the Omnitrax, their first version of it, which wasn't, we asked them, is this truck friendly? Like, well, for the most part it is, but if you get off a trucking route, it's going to send you on non-trucking routes to get you back on the trucking route. It uses any port in a storm approach, and that thing was horrible. It was two-dimensional. It was like looking at it from an aerial view, but you didn't know which direction you were going. So anyways, the GPS has improved. I had a trainer that his sister bought him a GPS as a present for him graduating CDL school, and so he brought his Garmin along, and I was like instantly hooked. I loved it. Now I still know how to use the Atlas. I updated it every 2 years. Having an Atlas is important because there will be a time when the GPS will go down, satellites will go down, and that map will be extremely handy on trying to get somewhere. So, Cheap Freight Hauler, good morning from a cold Kentucky. Yes, that's what I'm seeing on the old weather map. So, like your show, watch it often on BBT. Run to get my pedigree trailer in Pittston, Pennsylvania. Pedigree Trailers, I've heard good things about them, so I didn't realize they had a lot there in Pittston. I guess that makes sense, because Prime's got a lot there as well. So, John, thank you for coming in. John, I started driving a truck in 2008, and the truck GPS was coming out. My best tool was a road atlas, and I had a truck stop guide so I could trip lane. Yes, that little pocket truck stop guide was awesome. I love that thing. To be honest with you, I use that more than any of the GPSs. Like if I need a truck stop, I looked at that. Now for a while, for the last 2 years I was driving, I was pretty much doing a lot of the same customers, so I didn't really need it as much, but I updated that thing every year as well. And that was a great tool. My dad taught me some skills on using an Atlas. As far, that's why the MapQuest thing was so sketchy, because you weren't, I mean, yeah, there was a map, but I don't know. It's just the directions were like, go 2.3 miles until you see X road. You know, it's like, unless you're staring at your odometer, you know, what's 2.3 miles, right? So I tended to miss a lot of turns. There was one time where the band actually got lost in Kansas City. We had my pickup and our trailer full of gear, and we got on Prospect Avenue in Kansas City. And luckily, one of the bandmates was like, we need to get off this road right now. And when we finally got to the venue with some local help, the lead singer of the band that we were opening up for that was hosting us there out of Kansas City to say, man, I'm glad you survived Prospect Avenue. So I do not miss the MapQuest days. So Georgia Patriot, brokers I've worked with don't care about relationships. They'll give the load to a random carrier to save 5%. That is true, Georgia. I will agree with that. That there's trying to find the brokers that are the best of both worlds. Like, yeah, obviously they're worried about their margins, but at the same time, they're more willing to work with me. And I've had brokers give me a little bit more than what they could have moved it for with someone they didn't know. Now, there are some brokers where relationships don't matter, and there are some brokers that do. So it's what it boils down to is, how are you as a human being in talking to these people? And if I can establish at least a repertoire with a broker, it can become invaluable. I've lived it, I've done it, and that's what the digital brokers are witnessing right now. Is if you lose your human connection, you're going to get what you pay for. So. Alfalfa, that lava bowl thing, it was like, but it was enough to feed two people. I'm sure Shannon ate off that for 3 days. And that thing 20 minutes later was still sizzling on the bottom. I don't know how hot they get that lava bowl, but it was pretty intense looking. Mark Ely, good morning. Jose, good morning from Wichita, Kansas, heading back to Florida. You're probably a little chilly as well, so. Red Diesel, good morning. Haven't seen you in a minute. Glad to see you around. If my GPS doesn't work, I just cash a tow truck. Atlases are so last century. You just call a tow truck, right? MapQuest once gave me instructions to turn right off an overpass onto the road below it. Yeah, that's the thing. Google Maps will do that as well. It's especially if it thinks you're walking, it'll have you stop behind a building on a side road that has no access to the entrance, and then has a little dot that goes over to the front entrance. I'm like, what the hell's that? Am I supposed to just fly over? What am I, Superman? I'm just going to jump over the building? It's it's like Google. It's like Google Maps said, okay, just turn right, and after that you'll figure it out. It's like, okay, thanks. So usually on those, if you know how it asks you how well was your location. Usually I put in horrible when they do that, because get me to the front door. Now Schneider also had a GPS on their Qualcomm, which I know they use the tablets now, but I'm going old school here. And when I was an owner-operator at Schneider, it was suggested to me, and they called her Jill, the GPS. It was suggested to me to use your Garmin or the other brand, Rand McNally or whatever, for the long distance, but then the detailed local directions were better at Schneider, because they actually got you to the door of where you check in, or the gate entrance that you actually go in, which is handy for all the big paper plants and those kind of huge places like Caterpillar, where there's 20 different entrances that you can go and all that. So, Mr. Blackbeard, how are you? I saw that you were on Pale Riders Live. I did not watch the replay yet, but looked like you were doing all right. like the live feed was going well. My wife was in there talking. So good deal. Good to see you, my friend. John, the most stressful job I ever had was being a truck driver. I've not been in a truck in over 10 years, and I still nightmares of getting lost and recalling accidents. I never got in a major accident in the truck. I've had close calls, definitely. But I never I was able to avoid that. I know I have friends that have had fatality wrecks where the car driver was killed with their truck, and it definitely leaves an impression. And I talked to one guy one time. He was giving tips on what newbies should have in their truck, and he mentioned medical kits because in his career he had come across 10 accidents, 3 fatality accidents, and 2 airplane crashes. Not one, but 2. And I think about that every time I see something on the news, like that small plane that crashed there off of I-40 in Nashville. They're at the 244 mile marker, I think. You never know what you're going to come across, And then anybody who's done the southeast Missouri and Arkansas has seen those planes spraying the pesticides. Man, they can almost clip your truck. That's how close they get, and you never know when one of them is going to crash, right? So, but Anthony says it was good catching up. Good deal. I'm also streaming on Facebook as well, the Snorelord Facebook page. So, but anyways, let's take a look at some low board stuff. So, let's do volumes first on DAT, and then we'll go to 1, 2, 3 here. Share screen. See what now? Last week in the van world, there were more loads coming out of Georgia than Ohio. There were more loads coming out of the port cities than the Midwest, except for Indiana. Indiana still had decent numbers. I think it's interesting when that happens. And California, I always like seeing what it's doing because obviously that's a lot of port freight as well. Now, the reason why freight going into and out of California, and I've realized this a while back, Sage mentioned it. I believe Asian Mai mentioned it. But J.B. Hunt has really taken over the intermodal world. And a lot of shippers, if it's not time sensitive, will use the rails, the trains, to do the long distance stuff. Now, there was a point when the spot market was actually cheaper than putting on a train, but I think that has ceased. And I think it's back to being cheaper to being put on a train. So a lot of the cross-country freight that comes out of California, that's coming out of the yards, is going to be put on a train if it's not time sensitive. And I would be curious to talk to some container rail yard drivers to see if they're busy. Because obviously they have to go from the train, the yards, to wherever, on basically the final mile type driving. And so what that does is that kind of screws up the California numbers. Like right now, California is showing 1,115 in and 1,065 out. Now, last week, right on Friday, there was actually 2,000 coming out. So there's more freight coming out. Obviously, they've caught up a little bit. So, but these aren't very impressive numbers. Now, Florida's outbound is a lot more, so you might get a little bit of a better rate coming out of Florida. But look at Georgia. Georgia's evened up now, 11,114. Last week, this was more out than in. Iowa's not too bad. Let's look at Illinois. Look at Illinois, 920 in, 771 out. Indiana, 559 in, 685 out. So Indiana's still doing okay as far as more out than in. Kansas is lighting up a little bit. Kentucky looks decent. Louisiana has also picked up coming out of Louisiana. So that's something to kind of take note. I almost sent a truck to Louisiana because I saw how easy it was to get out of there. Michigan is doing okay. Missouri, 377 in, 628 out. So, Don, you should be able to find something decent coming out. Mississippi looks good. But these are all still kind of low numbers. Yeah, Ohio is looking all right. 886 in, 1109 out. The Illinois number is what's kind of throwing me off. And maybe because things haven't posted yet. Again, this is real time for Van. PA is pretty even. Texas is 2092 going in and 2388 coming out. So Texas has also been a weird market. You know, traditionally it's been low paying to come out, but here lately, last year, it's been low paying to go in and out. And I attributed that to some of the rail activity as well. Washington is definitely want to avoid. Wisconsin, 424 in, 349 out. Wisconsin's one of those markets that's usually doing pretty good. But you've actually got more loads coming out of Virginia than you do Wisconsin. So those load ratios aren't the best, right? That was for Van. We can look at reefer real quick. So let's do reefer here. Check out Van. Arkansas is a hotbed. 76 in, 304 out. California has actually got more out than in. Obviously, produce. Georgia's okay. Florida is about exactly the same as Van. Idaho looks good. 54 in, 244 out. Iowa looks good. Indiana, not so much. Illinois is not great. Let's see, what else? Michigan, about even. Mississippi looks okay. North Carolina, no. Let's see what Georgia's doing here. Georgia's doing a little bit better. 611 in, 719 out. So nothing's really on fire here in the reefer world. Nothing that really stands out and says, hey, you need to go here. Texas is 1285 in, 1554 out. Let's see what Idaho looked good, yeah. Right, yep. Idaho's definitely waking up. Wisconsin, 248 in, 300 out. So a little bit more of a struggle in the reefer world. So, and then let's do, we'll add flatbed here. And we'll add step deck. All right. Alabama is on fire. That's literally your best market right now. 651 in and 2667 coming out. So if you're a flatbedder, Alabama is your friend. California is doing okay coming out. Florida, 1692 in, 1309 coming out. So I would want to know what that product is. Georgia's on fire. So these numbers are very impressive for flatbed. Not very impressive. I shouldn't say that. What am I gauging on? I don't ever stare at this. So, but these are good volume numbers. So that's good. Flatbed's picking up. Illinois looks good. Indiana, not so much. Maryland looks good. Minnesota looks good. Missouri's no good. Mississippi, 167 in, 1452 out. North Carolina, 1236 in, 1349 out. Rules are different. Oregon, 208 in, 448 out. South Carolina, 711 in and 1138 out. Texas, avoid Texas, 4375 in, 2323 coming out. So Texas is not great. So if you go into Houston or something like that, you're probably going to struggle to get out. So you're going to be looking at more specialized stuff. So there you go. There's your numbers on the DAT. Let's see. Cool Trucking, hey now. Agree. There's too many loads on the rail, but in Florida it's a little slow on the rail. Alfalfa says I've seen mile-long trains with nothing but double-stacked JB Hunt containers. One looked to be going towards Chicago, the other westbound. Yes. Chicago is a big hub for the rail, and JB. Look, JB Hunt, instead of adapting to the rules, now they're creating the rules. That's what they do. They've become big enough that they can create the rules, and they've changed the dynamics in the rail industry, and they're changing the dynamics and they've already changed the dynamics in the trucking industry. So, is it possible to average $100 an hour as owner op on the spot gross? $100 an hour? It depends on what you're doing, I guess. Anything's possible, but Gary Cook, good morning. David Edwards, morning all. Just pulled into the receiver. Good deal, man. Good deal. So, let's see. Let's go to Van on 1, 2, 3, and then we'll take a look at some spots here. Apply. Now let's take a look at what's going on. So, let's see. Georgia was one of the better states. So let's see. Then you got this $1.02 a mile to go from Sandersville, Georgia to Fishers, Indiana. So there's that. But let's sort this by highest rate. The highest overall rate is going from Georgia to Oregon, Washington. You're only looking at $1.76, $1.53, $1.41. That's the stuff that goes on the rails, so they want to save their money. If they could do it cheaper than the rail, that's what these prices are. This is partially why you can't get a good rate to go into California, despite what its outbound numbers look like. Because they'll just put it on the train if it gets too expensive, if it's not time sensitive. So if your costs are $1.80 a mile, which, bless your heart. Anyways, if your costs are about $1.80 a mile, these $1.28 a mile loads to California may not be for you, because that's a lot of miles. I can see doing that for a shorter run that gets you in a better market, but you're not necessarily going to a better market with this. Oh, look at this. They've changed the cost per day. 6% below cost per day. Instead of a big no, it just shows you how much. Right? So that's a good tool, because if it's 6% below cost per day, then your next load needs to be above, at least 6% above your cost per day to make up for it. Too many times we're concentrating on one load at a time. And you have to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture says that this load for 6% is going to be below your cost per day. So how many days are you going to be on this load? 2192, pretty much the entire week. And so that's 5 or 6 days of 6% loss that you're going to have to make up for. That's another way to look at it. So 1, 2, 3 is always trying to improve on their tools. So if you're interested, 48065, and that should get you 30 days for free if you want to check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. So yeah, let's go by highest rate per mile, see where all the shorties are going. This also will reveal the more specialized stuff like multi-stop loads and all that stuff that none of you want to do. Like, but then you also got, this is $4.21 a mile. We could brag, oh, we got $4.21 a mile, but yeah, it's $450. Valdosta, Georgia to Gainesville, Florida. So $450 to go into an area that you're going to struggle to come out. That's not really round trip money to go back, but check it out. 112% above cost per day. I've got my cost per day set at like $350, I believe. Not that I mean, again, yeah, I don't have a truck anymore, but that's where I based it. Just a flat line number that I came up with. Picks up today at 9 or tonight at 9 p.m. Delivers tomorrow at 10 a.m. So if you're able to deliver a load today and then possibly pick that up, you can almost look at it as straight through delivery. So, but, that's where you can kind of make it up. But again, you're going to probably come out of there empty. So we scroll down a little bit. Union City, Georgia to Lakeland, Florida, $1,800 for $3.98 a mile. Let's see what this is about. See if it's multi-stop or something specialized or hazmat. Nope. Oh yeah, it's hazmat. So there you go. There's your special pricing. It's got the class right there, 1719. Look it up in your book. Union City to Lakeland. So if you have hazmat authority, that'd be a good one. And then you can pretty much come back up north with that rate. So if it's like, basically it's coming out to $4 a mile. If you go right back up to Union City, you're looking at $2 a mile, all miles. So that's a pretty good rate. But again, it's hazmat. So let's see, 376 go from Atlanta to Mobile. Let's take a look at that one. That seems pretty high for Georgia, so let's see what the deal is here. Trailer must be in good condition. Oh, team. No, that's the team that's got the load. Hold on. Yeah, they're way above the average. March 18th picks up at 11 a.m. today. So it's possible it might be an important customer that someone fell off of it. 6 hours, 330 miles, $1,291. So you'd say that, or it's got multiple stops that they're not listing that increases the mileage or the rate per day. So actually, there's not too bad of stuff coming out of there. Douglas, Georgia to Vero Beach, Florida. Paying good money, go down there. Let's see what this load is. While we're waiting for that to load, Nathaniel, good morning. I'm all right. Brother. Picks up 5 o'clock tomorrow night. Goes down to Florida, Vero Beach, Florida for the next day at 7 a.m. So a little bit of late night driving. That's where if you know the customer, let's say you know this customer, you can go in at 4, or not even 4, like noon, and then be shut down by 5. Or maybe not 5, but like 7. And then you could roll in time to get to the receiver there. They're at 1,050. Cargo Chief's got 1,123. So, but you're pretty far south there in Florida, so you're probably going to be deadheading back up. But again, if you're doing 326 a mile, divide that by 2, that's your number for all miles. If you go right back up to, where is it? Lakeland there. See, like this, you got Livonia, Georgia to Charlotte, $475, but it gets you out of. This would be a Florida technique. Like if I'm in Florida and I get that number to come out, then that's worth it versus deadheading, depending on the weight of this load. Yeah, 3,200 pounds, empty totes. Beautiful. I love empty tote loads. Hazmat or non-hazmat, they're perfect. A lot of good rates going into Florida, obviously. That's where all your highest rate per mile is going to go. But McDonough to Charlotte, here we go, $800, $295 a mile. But what's Charlotte look like coming out? So you're going to have to pay attention to that as well. $800. So they're above Cargo Chief again. It's hazmat though. That's the thing. I'm seeing a lot more hazmat loads on this board than I usually do. So let's take a look at let's take a look at Missouri. Let's take a look at Missouri. See what that's looking like here. Shannon, good morning. I saw that you were live twice yesterday, and you were doing the whole Here's a window to my soul, my truck, and you can watch me do regular stuff. I noticed you were doing that yesterday. But that live feed had over 1,000 views, so kudos to you. I hope you're doing well. I enjoyed the time we hung out with you, and your video was short and to the point, so thank you. 218 a mile to go from St. Louis to Virginia. That's actually not bad. Let's take a look at that. And again, the information's down there in the scrolling banner. If you want to support the channel, hit the thumbs up as well. The only special thing, it needs a plate trailer, palletized beverages, non-alcohol, so soda or water. St. Louis to, I imagine this is probably Pepsi, picking up at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, delivering next evening, 10 p.m. So you're doing pretty steady drive. They're 1,800. Cargo got about 21, so there's a little bit of room for wiggle. But then you got to look at the rates coming out of Virginia as well. Kansas City to Olathe, a shorty for $350 to go not too many miles. $30 miles. Now, if you could do 2 of these a day, that's a pretty decent run for the day, and very little fuel burned. So here we go. Sikeston, Missouri to Windsor, Wisconsin. That's a pretty good rate to go into Wisconsin. Let me see what this is about. That's the market we're in right now. If there's a pretty decent rate on it, there's a reason, right? Picks up at 3 o'clock today, delivers tomorrow at 2 p.m., 496 miles. Bottled beverage, non-alcoholic. So here's a good load. Worldwide Express. What's their credit look like? 82 credit score, 41 days to pay. So maybe that's why there's money on it, because they're having trouble finding carriers to run their stuff if their credit's getting a little bit lower. And, of course, Wisconsin is a great area to come out of. 530 loads coming out of Windsor going anywhere. And then there's 9 loads going right back to Missouri, right out of Wisconsin. So not a bad market. For up on here. WCF Invader says, Shannon is my favorite not OnlyFans female trucker. Who's your favorite OnlyFans female trucker? I know, you don't do that. Customers are asking for better prices. I'm having to reprice loads that I haven't bid on since 2021. Yes, customers are definitely putting the strangle on this. They are definitely taking advantage of the fact that there's still too many trucks, and they've been reamed for the last couple of years. So they are trying to reprice. A lot of the brokers that were not lowering their prices but trying to increase their profit margins with the carriers, they are now struggling a little bit. In my opinion, it's not a fact or anything, but in my opinion, some of those brokers are struggling right now because they've gone so cheap. The shippers are used to it. Now they can't cover their freight because their trucks that were doing it are going out of business because it's below their cost, which is usually an issue in the trucking world anyways. Even if you get a contract, there's that one company out of Ohio, Pitt, Ohio, I think is what they were. I want to say maybe it was a different company. I can't remember. But I do remember that they lowered their price, and started running at a loss for such a long time that it took them out. At this place, Google reviews say they take hours and hours. Even had to drop my trailer and depart and wait elsewhere because I have DD. Grr. Did you hear about Trucker Todd? He needs our prayers. No, I didn't hear what's going on with Trucker Todd. I did not hear. I'm friends with his carrier owner, so. Yeah, bid. Yep, I read that right. Good morning, Steve. I'm so late I think I'm first. What is wiggle room? This terminology was not taught in freight broker school. The wiggle room is the room that you're willing to move as a broker, and that you're willing to move as a carrier. You know, if something could be priced just a hair better, it's what I call wiggle room. You're not trying to go $1,000 over the pricing, but it's priced good enough, but you could stand to go a little bit higher. So, let's see. Thinking of bowing out on some of them. Oh no, he had a hospital. He had a stroke. Wow. Hope he didn't get in a wreck, did he? He didn't have that stroke while driving, did he? I'll have to give a friend of mine a call. So yeah, Todd, if you're watching, prayers to you. Hopefully you get through this. So, man, that sucks. Gary, thanks for the information. All right, let's take a look at Utah. Utah's lit up green here on this reefer low board. So let's look at the rate per mile. I bet you the highest rate per mile is going to go to California. Yep, 293, 323. Now that's interesting because Arizona to California is usually low rate per mile, whereas Utah to California is opposite. Here we go, $5,000 to go from Salt Lake to Saxonburg, Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at this load, 42,000 pounds. Triple T transport. CDN says the struggle is real. I can tell you firsthand. My head office keeps reminding us to increase our profit on loads. We are moving loads, but 10 to 15% less profit than prior years. So you would agree with me when I said that some brokers are struggling, correct? Trucker Todd had a mild stroke while working on his truck. He is in the hospital. He's been streaming to give updates, but he stated he's not able to drive for a year at least. Wow. Man, and it makes you think, you know, a lot of people, that would put number one, they'll probably put him out of business. Number two, what's your backup plan if you can't drive a truck anymore? And, you know, I know that I had one. I have several, you know, like skills. Like, what backup skills do you have? And so a lot of the career truck drivers, that's all they know. They would definitely struggle in a situation like that. And that's why health is kind of an important thing, because if you lose your CDL, no fault of your own, it could definitely change a lot of dynamics in your life. So yeah, Todd, if you're, you know, hopefully if you're watching, you know, we'll definitely send some prayers to you. So, but yeah, I did not hear about that. I'm subscribed to him, so I'm surprised. You know, I get so many YouTube notifications, people get lost in the mix. So, but now take a look at this load. Salt Lake to Saxonburg, PA, $5,000 is a reefer load. There's got to be multiple stops on this. Maximum temperature 34. So my guess, it's probably produce, and it's probably got multiple pickups. So they're way above what Cargo Chief's got it listed for. So even the green screens, it's higher than that. So there's got to be a reason for that. That's a good paying load depending on the circumstances. 5,000 to go from Salt Lake to Tully. Looks like they got a few of these. Let's see if there's any. See if there's any other details on this. $1.76 a mile to me to get my return load at $2.70 a mile. I ran with it and running it this week. There you go. Prayers, Trucker Todd, says Don. I also hadn't heard about that. Salt Lake City, Utah, Tully, New York. Let's see. Now they're not too much above the Cargo Chief, so but I'm thinking that there's some circumstances. Oh, team. It's a team load, so there you go. Maybe the other one was team as well. So teaming means it's either a time issue or it's a security issue. So in other words, you can't have the truck empty at any time. There has to be someone with the truck. DIY says Trucker Todd had a series of mini strokes rather than one large one. Wow, okay. My grandmother dealt with that as well. I believe that's how she passed. Or it happened right before she passed. So your best paying loads out of Utah are going into California if you got a reefer. Oregon's not too bad, but then what are you going to get coming out? So you got to pay attention to that. And then also the Northeast. So let's see. Let's go to flatbed and step deck. I want to look at something here. Flatbed, step deck, apply. Now, Alabama's on fire on the DAT board. Let's see what Alabama's doing here. Actually, let's go back. Alabama's showing 1923 outbound and 302 inbound with 208 intrastate. Look at that. Alabama is fire. All right, rate per mile. Let's do the big rates. Let's see what the long haul stuff's doing here. Pennsylvania. Let's go from Theodore to Pennsylvania, or Robertsdale, Alabama, to Lebanon, PA. New Mexico, of course, that's going to be a crap getting out of there. Single coil. Now, what's interesting is a friend of mine posted on Facebook about a lot of empty warehouses right now. A lot of empty, not just warehouses, but a lot of empty commercial real estate. So flatbed dynamics are going to remain interesting because I don't know what building's like, and that's what the majority of what your materials are going to be. Here we go. 533 mile to go from Decatur, Alabama to Polkston, Georgia. 42,000 pounds. Steel pipe. Picks up tomorrow, delivers next day, 450 miles. There you go. That's a decent one-day run. It's pretty good. These shorties from Calvert to Little Rock might be good because Arkansas is doing all right. Let's take a look what Arkansas is doing. Hover over it. 796 out, 409 in. So basically, if I was running a flatbed or step deck, this would be the area I would be concentrating on if you wanted to do the short game right here. It's showing Texas is good. Probably because of the intrastate. So, but Illinois, 413 outbound, 499 inbound with 48 intrastate. You need a special intrastate authority to do Illinois. But this would be the area I would concentrate on. And hopefully you have a truck that doesn't have a weight limit. As far as because most of your lumber loads, which is going pretty strong right now, is around 47 to 48,000 pounds. Don says, ignorant me wonders, are several mini strokes better or worse than one large stroke? It depends on how debilitating each stroke is. I mean, what's considered a mini stroke? Obviously it was enough to put him. Look, either way, obviously it was enough to put him in the hospital and take his medical card away. And he had just gotten that truck from Scott too, so That's a bad deal, man. CDN, Steve, one day could you have a Class 1 driver roundtable to discuss how drivers can improve their health on the road 2024? The industry isn't doing much. You have to take action yourself. I would love to do that. Because now I've done videos on that because I lost 120 pounds as a driver before I got into the office role. I would love to do that. I've done that with I did that. We did a little bit of that on the Carnivore Truckers. We did on his channel, but it was more about, I guess we did talk, I mean, obviously we talked health, but it was more based around a all meat diet, but not that I'm a practicing carnivore. I mean, I do eat a lot of meat. I'm more of the ketovore, I guess you can call it, but definitely, I would definitely like to do that. It's tough because, you know, they're taking out the good restaurants and they're putting in the fast food, and the fast food ingredients are just horribly processed and horrible for you. So, my tip in that regard is 1 meal a day, eat out of the truck, no fast food, intermittent fasting works for me, and lots of water. That's true. James G., good morning. How are you? How do you get thousands of other drivers to follow your tips? Great tips. CDN Music City says CDN wiggle room is that space what the poster rate is, the amount you're willing to move in that direction of the asking party. Yes, it is a cute name for a negotiating event. So, but anyways, let's take a look at power only real quick. I still have a lot of drivers ask me about power only. And of course, you know, these maps kind of go out the window. Let's take a look at Arkansas here. A lot of these are going to be loadout trailers. Let's take this iTag equipment. Let's see what that is. It's a lowboy, 18,000 pounds, specialized lowboy trailer. No brokers, power only, 5-day loadout period. No, non-owned trailer physical damage insurance is required. So if you know how to deal with the lowboy, obviously they don't have a whole lot of yeah, see 2,500, the, you know, I don't know how much you can accomplish in 5 days, but it depends. Might just take that straight there and take that money. Paragold to Laredo. Now, there is a utility plant in Paragold. I remember one year when my company was buying a ton of trailers for like 2 weeks. We were just going up there back and forth, round trip, bringing the trailers back to the yard. It was such an easy run. I loved it. My son was on me for a little bit of that. Power only, 20,000 pounds. New empty dry van trailer. Do not load with cargo. So this is not a loadout trailer, which is why they're paying full price. So if it's a loadout trailer, you're lucky to be them paying $50, $100 for it. But if they don't want you to load it, they got to pay you a going rate, which is $223 a mile for an empty trailer. But then you're going to want to look at what's coming out of Laredo as far as power only goes. So, and I would ask EXO if they got anything coming out of Laredo that's power only. So, these ones to Florida. Yeah, these are all like, we don't want you loading these new trailers. That's what this is. Empty new trailer, no progressive insurance. So tow away means, I believe that means they don't want you loading it. So obviously the utility plant in Paragould is shipping a bunch of trailers. Now let's take a look at this one from Ryan, because there's two. You got Ryan, Ryan, then you got Ryan. Yeah, it says load out. So empty new trailer, no progressive insurance. So some of the new trailers you can load out, some you can't. Obviously, that's based around the customer. And then one of the things that you have to realize with load out trailers is if it's an Amazon trailer going somewhere, Walmart's like, you can't bring that trailer on our property because they're a competitor. So you got to keep that in mind. So like that's why you see on regular brokered loads, you see dry van, you see no Amazon trailers for a Walmart load, because maybe you're on a loadout trailer, you've got the trailer for a week. They don't want any Amazon trailers on their yards. So yeah, evidently there's One Way Trailers has also got stuff going to Laredo. So there's a pretty decent path of Paragould to Laredo. So WCF Invader, self-control and have limited food in the truck. Hardest to do in the wintertime when we need to have extra supplies due to potential hazardous conditions. I'm well. Good deal, James G. Music City, I was being sarcastic. I know what it means. CDM, me too. All right. Good morning, T-Bone. Hope you're doing all right. Nathan, I got a colonic once a month. That definitely helps keep your colon clean. Huh. That was my attempt at making a slang term sound official. CDN says, Don, I would challenge having limited food in the truck leads to buying junk food at the truck stop myself. I believe having healthy snacks food in the truck will develop healthier habits. CDN works for me. By the time I'm stopped, I'm exhausted. Typically, I run hard through the day and then stop and eat. It does take a lot of self-control. That's where many fail. Well, you have to look at the reason why self-control is difficult, because that stuff's made to be addictive. So, but anyways, that's a different topic for a different day. So, anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I got to get off here. Like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. If you don't like this video, hit the thumbs down twice. That'll really teach me a lesson. Those of you watching on the other platforms, Facebook and Twitter, thank you for watching. And hopefully we'll see you Wednesday. And those of you on your way to Matt's, we'll talk about that on Wednesday. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns the screws. See ya.